Welcome to the Art Lady channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make the V, W, and the X in a very quick video demonstration. The letters now are going to be V, W, and X. And I'm going to just simply block them out. I'm going to have it come across straight. I do want this V to come like that. Let me bring it down a little bit more on this side. And then the W is going to be blocked in. I want this to be almost, as close to symmetrical as I can. The tops are going to be horizontal across. And as best I can, I'm just blocking this very quickly, but as best I can, I'm doing it so that the letters are equal thickness. V, W, and now X. So I'm going to come down. And now I'm going to block it out with my Sharpie. I think I slid a little. So there's the V. Now I'm going to bring that V back to perspective. And my eye vision, or vanishing point's right about here. That's my eye level. That's where my eye meets the horizon line. I take the vanishing point, bring it to every corner of the letter V. Since we're dealing with all straight lines here, it's just all the corners. This I consider a straight line letter. There's no curves in it. So now I'm going to set my bottom thickness, and I want it to be about, say, a little bit more than 1/4 inch. So my bottom line, this line has to be parallel with this line. And where it meets here is where it's going to come up. And I want this ruler to be parallel with this line. So this is the side thickness of the letter. And then approximately the same thickness here, because if the letter's the same thickness, you want it to be the same thickness on this side. So this line has to be parallel with the ruler coming down. You don't want it to be crooked. It's got to be parallel, because if this is this part of the letter, the back of the letter's the same distance. So from here to here to here to here should be the same distance. And there's our letter V, the thickness of the letter V. So let me show you what it looks like with a Sharpie. I want to go right up to the line. Let me make sure this is the thickest. No, I like using one that has a real, fairly new Sharpie, so I have a nice point. And I'm going to trace that line. You can trace all your lines if you like. I just freehand because it's a little bit faster on the shorter lines. And now there's our V in 3D, and I'm going to add the shadow to it. And if this was going to be, say, a red letter V I'm coloring in or decorating, the shadow would probably be a dark red or a shade of red, or you can use the black. So whatever color shadow, but whatever the shadow is going to be darker than the actual face of the letter. So that you want to remember. You never want these areas to be lighter than the letter, because the letter will recede back then. The darker color recedes. And there we have our V that's in 3D with 1 point perspective. Now I'm working on my W. So I'm going to block it in just really quickly. And I want these to be fairly straight, so I'm just doing this really fast. Only spending a few minutes on each. If this is going to be a final project, you want to take a little bit more time than I'm doing. Now I want this to line up to the top because you don't want these to be off. So this has to be in a straight vertical line, those two dots. And I want this dot to line up to this dot. And then as best I can, I want the thicknesses to all be the same when I'm making a letter. That's just your craftsmanship. Like I say, as best you can. I'm just eyeballing it real quick. So these two bottom lines should be pretty equal. And then I'm connecting. And then the tops. Again, the tops you want to be as equal as you can too. I'm just eyeballing mine. So there we have our W that's blocked in. Now I can see I'm off a little bit in these angles here. But for this purpose it's just a demonstration video, so it's fine. So now I'm going to take all corners and bring them back to perspective. Now this is going to be an interesting, a different view here because we're very close to the vanishing point, which is my eye view. So some of this side I'm not going to see actually much of. I'm going to see very little of this side of this letter. I'm going to see the bottom, of course, because these letters are looking up. I will see somewhat, a little bit in here. I'm going to see nothing on this side. I will see nothing at this side, so I'm double checking. This corner goes back to my vanishing point. And again, you want to be precise, ending right at the dot. So I will see a sliver of this. And of course we see all the bottom. And I see no side here. But we do see this side here. I'm going to establish the bottom. So it's the thickness of the letter now. I'm just going to draw a line across because we're cutting through a couple of them. Now, where this comes back and down and recedes, let me erase this so you can see a little bit better here. I don't need these. This is now the bottom thickness of my letter in here. So I'm going to come up my letter where these two intersect. And this line is going to be parallel with this side of the letter. And where this intersects, this is going to come down to here. Let's see. Okay. This is the side thickness. This is my corner. Let me erase some of these lines here. This is all my insides. So this is coming up to here. That's the thickness of that. I see a little sliver of this side coming down. And so I would end up coloring in. Now I want to get my parallel line on this side. So this comes down and the thickness is right in here. So let me erase some of these lines so you can see better. So here is the thickness in here, the thickness in here. This W I see at a funny angle in here. I guess I would see it all to there. So let me sketch it out. It is a funny angle. So I would see this to meet to the corner. I would see all of this. Sometimes it's hard to see unless you sketch it with this. I would see all of this. And I'm being precise because these lines are so thin in some areas. And then I would see this part of the W. And then this in here. So this gets colored because I'm seeing this side. This is a funky angle because it's directly above this. I see a little bit around this corner, but not a lot. That's why you always go back to your vanishing point, because then you get the precise angles. And oh, I forgot this one. And this blends right into this. There. Okay, so there's my W. Let me erase these lines so you can see it a little bit better. Clean. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my negative space first, just to make it so that it's a little bit evened, so I can eyeball this. Let me come across. I want them to be as close to the same thickness as I can. Whoops. As quickly as I can. So now coming back to the vanishing point here, I'm bringing all my tips. This edge, bottom, I'm having a little bit on that side. Inside here, bring it back to the vanishing. And then I don't see any of this because it's in this perspective here, reviewing this side. So now I'm going to establish my bottom first. So I'm going to match it with my W. Actually, the W could be a little bit straighter right in here. There. So I'm going to establish my bottom edge, which is going to be all parallel to here. So my letters are coming back to here and to here. And then it's going to be this side and this side. Then it's going to come up from here. So this is these two are parallel. Got a little messy on my corners. And then the inside X is going to cut, this line's going to be parallel to this. And then this comes up, and this is parallel to here. And this gets colored in. And then the inside block, it lines up with this line. Getting precise lines with this. So there is the inside. Okay, so there is my X. And then I have my V, W, and X.